and welcome to my December and January book haul. So obviously with December being Christmas and January being the time of the January sales, I have bought quite a few books, as you can see by my struggle in the thumbnail, and that is not including the ebooks I've also bought. So I'm not going to give any sort of introduction further than to say that after this I'm probably going to be doing monthly book hauls no matter how small they are, because that's just going to be easier to do. I'm just going to get into it. First thing I've got to mention is Legend Born by Tracy Dion, which is a King Arthur retelling set in modern times. It's all I really know about it. I'm just very excited to read it for the Avengers Reading Challenge for January, so I can tick off a whole load of prompts and also see what all of the hype is about. Next is Tales from the Hinterland, which has a very shiny, beautiful cover, and this one's by Melissa Albert, and this is the stories from the Hazelwood books. So the Hazelwood and the Night Country are based around this whole idea of fairy tales that were written by the main character's grandmother, and these are those fairy tales. I have really enjoyed the Hazelwood and also the Night Country, and I'm very excited for Tales from the Hinterland. Also, it's a series of short stories that are really short, and also the titles for some of these are brilliant, because the titles include, if I can get to the right page, there's so many pages, The Skinned Maiden, and like The Mother and the Dagger, and The Door That Wasn't There, The Clockwork Bride are just some of the stories in this, all of which sound amazing, so I cannot wait to get to this. I've also got Arusha and the Tree of Wishes by Roshani Chochki as well. Now this one is the third book in the Arusha series, which is a series in the style of Percy Jackson but based around the Mahabharata instead, and I have really enjoyed this series so far. I've read the first two, really enjoyed them, and cannot wait for the third one. My only thing is that even though this matches the other two covers, it's not shiny. It doesn't have foiled edges, and it's really annoying me, because the other two have foiled edges, but I couldn't find it with foiled edges anywhere, so I settled for this one. At least all of the covers match in the terms of styling, even if there's no foil on this one. I really hope the fourth one does, but either way, I'm still very excited to read this one. I don't know what it's about. I just know that I really can't wait to continue on with this series. I've also got The Broken Wish by Julie C. Dow as well, which first of all has a very shiny cover, which I'm absolutely in love with, and I've only just noticed that there's a face here, that all of this is a face. How have I only just noticed this in the viewfinder? I just totally didn't notice that, but that's rather cool. But this one is a new sort of fairy tale, and it's the first one in the series following one family over several generations and the curse that plagues it. And each book in the series is going to be written by a different author. So this one's Julie C. Dow, the second one is Donielle Clayton, third one is J.C. Cervantes, and the fourth one is L.L. McKinney. I've got to admit, I've never read anything by the first three authors, but L.L. McKinney wrote the Nightmareverse, which I absolutely love. It's an Alice in Wonderland retelling set in modern times, and I adore it, so I'm sort of taking a bit of a chance on this, but at the same time, if I really enjoy these books, I can then go and check out the other books by all the other authors and just discover new authors essentially. But this one is sort of like a fairy tale retelling. I don't think it's any particular retelling, but it's that kind of idea. Either way, I'm very excited to read it. My best friend also bought me the Obsidian Tower, and this one's an epic high fantasy, and it says, keep your secret, guard the law, nothing must unseal the door. And it's a captivating epic fantasy trilogy filled with intrigue and ambition, betrayal and broken magic, and I'm very excited. It's a bit of a chunker, but I'm very excited to read it. And then, thanks to my mum, who bought me Indexing by Shauna Maguire, I have wanted this series for so long, because these are retellings set in modern times where there is an ATI management bureau who try to protect the world from fairy tales. That sounds awesome, quite frankly. I can't remember which this one's about, but this one is about Cinderella, apparently. And it says, when a twisted, vicious Cinderella breaks out of prison and wreaks havoc, things go from disenchanted to deadly. I'm here for this. I'm totally here for this. I'm here for Shauna Maguire as well. And also, before I forget, I've got to make a big shout out as well for the Portal bookshop for these, who I'll leave a link to down below. They're an indie bookshop in England, and they stock these along with all of Shauna Maguire's other books as well, which I have never seen anywhere in the UK. So quite frankly, this was a Christmas present in itself to find these. I was thinking I was going to have to buy them on Kindle or import them somehow. So to have them from the Portal bookshop and to be supporting an indie store as well was fantastic. And I just cannot wait to get to these. I cannot wait. I then also bought myself Not Even Bones by Rebecca Schaefer, and this one was described as This Savage Song by V.E. Schwab meets Dexter the TV show. I needed to know literally nothing else about this series because that just speaks to me on every level. Quite frankly, I'm a massive fan of V.E. Schwab. Like I always say, I am V.E. Schwab trash. And while This Savage Song was not my favourite of her books, I still really enjoyed it. And also, I grew up watching Dexter. I probably shouldn't have been watching Dexter, but I grew up watching it and I love that series. It's absolutely brilliant. And this sounds properly like a dark type of monster fantasy type idea, and I am here for it. Also, this one also has a webcomic to it as well. So what I'm thinking is that I may end up reading both at the same time and then maybe doing some sort of vlog to go with both of them, maybe comparing and contrasting. I don't know, I'll see how I feel, but I definitely cannot wait to get to Not Even Bones. I've heard so many good things and it sounds right up my alley. And then the final thing I got in terms of physical books was Black Panther Volume 8, The Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda Part 2 by Tana, Heffy, Coates. Now, this one is obviously the 7th book in the Black Panther series, and I have only read the first one so far, but I really enjoyed it, and I've been slowly collecting all of these ones up to where it is now, which I think is volume 10. I don't have 9 yet, but I will eventually buy that one as well, and I cannot wait to read it. It's really exploring the world of Wakanda and everything else. It has been described as one of the best places to start with Black Panther and everything else, so I am very excited to just get to this series and properly read it the whole way through, probably when Black Panther 2 comes out. I don't know when that's going to be. 2022 I think it was. Or 2023. Either way, I'm very excited to get to this eventually whenever that film comes out. And now onto the Kindle books, and strap yourself in because this is where it gets a bit long. So the first one I got was Elusive by Emily Lloyd Jones, and this is described as X-Men meets Ocean's 11. Again, need I say more? I love the X-Men. I adore the X-Men. It's pretty obvious I adore the X-Men. And I also really grew up loving the Oceans films. I really enjoyed them. I really like a heist book, apparently, and a heist film. And this just sounded perfect because it sounded like, essentially, the X-Men on a heist. I need nothing more. Essentially, I just need nothing more. I also got The Silvered Serpents by Roshani Chochki as well. Now, this one is obviously the sequel to The Gilded Wolves, and The Gilded Wolves was not my favourite book in the world, but to be fair, I was also interrupted every 5 minutes, so I can't really just talk about it. I keep on saying I was interrupted, but I genuinely was. But I did still want to give The Silvered Serpents a go, so while it was down to 99p, I picked it up and I'm very excited to read it. I then got Dangerous Remedy by Kat Dunn, and this one is a French historical fantasy with a heisty sort of plot. Like I said, I love heists, and I've also discovered that I really like fantasy set in places that sound like France, or just books set in France. I really like France for some reason. I've only ever driven through it or above it, but for some reason I really like France. Blame the fact I've watched too much Beauty and the Beast and Escape to the Chateau to deal with this. But either way, I really like the idea of French heists and all of that kind of stuff. So again, while it was on offer, I picked it up. I then got Sorcerer to the Crown by Zen Cho. Now this one is a debut historical fantasy with dragons, and England's magic is drying up. Dragons. I just wanted more dragons, essentially. I do not have enough dragon books. This one was on offer. It's been on my wish list for a very long time. So again, I picked it up. I then got Stitching Snow as well by R.C. Lewis, and this is a sci-fi retelling of Snow White. And quite frankly, I do not read enough sci-fi, quite frankly. So what I thought I'd do is get at least one more sci-fi retelling, so then I am also reading retellings and sci-fi at the same time and bumping both of those up, because quite frankly I do not read enough of either. I then got another Emily Lloyd Jones books I've just realised, which was The Bone Houses, which is where the dead don't stay dead in a graveyard, and that I was just really in a spooky mood at the time, quite frankly, so I cannot wait to read this around spooky season. I then got The Space Between Worlds by Mikaya Johnson, which is about a dimension jumping where the main character is dead in all but 8 realities, and I've heard so many people raving about this book, quite frankly. It's just been everywhere recently. So again, I decided to pick it up. I also then picked up 2 more Shauna Maguire books. The first one was Discount Armageddon, which is an urban fantasy, and then also Rosemary and Rue, which is an urban fantasy as well, but with the Fae. And I'm not usually here for Fae books. Fae don't really sort of work for me for some reason, but I did want to give it a second shot, and I thought Shauna Maguire may be the one to do it because I really enjoy her work already, even though I've only ever read the Wayward Children series. I am sure I'm going to love her other work as well, hence why I've bought so much of it, quite frankly, and I'm just very excited to read it as well and just see what I think about it and dive into these 2 very long series, because I know that I think the Rosemary and Rue stuff, or at least one of these series, is over 15 books long. So I'm putting myself in for it. But quite frankly, I'm just here for it, essentially. I just really want to read some more of Shauna's work and just really dive into all of it and all of her backlist stuff. I've got quite a few of her comics now, so I may as well just dive into all of her books while I'm at it. Onto the comics now. First one I've got to mention is Lucifer by Mike Carey, which is a spin-off from the Sandman universe. Now, the weird thing with this is the fact that Lucifer was originally in the Sandman series and then comes out of it in volume 4, which I have now read and gotten past. I'm going to have to look this up though, because I think he's not in it anymore after that, but don't quote me on that. And then he got his own spin-off series with Mike Carey, where he is setting up Lux, the nightclub in LA, and that is where the Lucifer TV show comes from. And I adore the Lucifer TV series. I absolutely adore it. It just makes me ridiculously happy. It's ridiculous, it's really funny, it's quite diverse, quite frankly, compared to most other TV shows, and also the writers listen to their audience, unlike other supernatural shows I can mention. But I just love it, so I definitely wanted to check out Sandman, hence why I've been reading it for the last couple of years, and I also wanted to check out Lucifer, the original comic as well, just to see where all of these influences have come from, and just to see more Lucifer, essentially. I just wanted more Lucifer in my life. I'm in denial that the show is ending, so I picked up one of the comics. I then also picked up Nova Volume 4 Original Sin by Jerry Duggan. Now this one is the next one in the Nova series, which has been a bit hit and miss with me, but I really enjoyed Jerry Duggan's take on Nova, so I've decided to give the next one a shot as well, and I will probably finish the series. Unfortunately, this one is a tie-in to Original Sin, which I will not be reading until next year at the earliest, depending on when Thor comes out, because Original Sin ties into the big Thor series I've been collecting. But quite frankly, I'm fine with this because I'm probably going to read this one anyway and just read it so I can finish the Nova series so I can go on to Champions. But I am quite excited for it. I do quite enjoy Nova. He is quite an interesting character in his own way. So while this one was on offer, I did pick it up. And then got New Mutants Volume 4 Unfinished Business by Dan Agnet, which is the 4th volume of the New Mutants series I've been reading. And I really enjoyed the series, quite frankly. I love Illyana and the rest of the New Mutants, so I really wanted to continue on with this series. So while I was buying comics, I got the 4th one. I then got Iceman Thawing Out by Sinner Grace, and this one is actually about Bobby coming out as gay and sort of realising that he is gay. I've only really seen this in one comic before, where young Iceman is talking to older Iceman, and young Iceman saying, "Why aren't you out yet? You're gay, we're gay," kind of thing. And it's very clunky, but I do want to read this one as well and explore more of it. I don't know if it's an Own Voices comic or not, but I did really want to give it a try and just read that storyline for myself. I then bought another Shauna Maguire book, and this one was Spider-Gwen Volume 2 The Impossible Year. Now this one is the next one in the Spider-Gwen series, and I'm very excited for it because I really like Spider-Gwen in Into the Spider-Verse. I want to read more from her, and I think Shauna is definitely the person to go for it as well, so that's why I picked it up. I also got the Miss Marvel team up by Eve Ewing because I have loved Eve Ewing's work with the Ironheart before now, and I'm just very excited to see what she does with Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel as well. And I just really wanted more all-female team-ups as well. I read A-Force last year and absolutely adored it, and I'm just here for all other all-female team-ups I can get my hands on. So this one was very high up the wish list. So when it went on sale, I nabbed it. I then also picked up Empire and Empire X-Men by Al Ewing and Vita Ayla, and both of these are to do with the Empire event, or are the actual Empire event. And I really wanted these ones because obviously it's a massive event in the Marvel Universe. Everyone's been talking about it recently, so I decided to pick it up, even though I haven't read the Fantastic Four or the entirety of Dawn of X yet. But I'm now prepared for when I have finished those series to read these two at the very least. I then got Dawn of X Volume 9, which is the latest one I can get because Volume 10 isn't out until the end of the month, and what I really want to do is either A, wait for it to go on sale, or B, wait until I've actually read the first 9 of them first. So that's why I've only gone up to 9. That one was specifically on sale, so I picked it up, and I can't wait, quite frankly. I am loving what I've read so far of Dawn of X. I've only read the first one, but I've really enjoyed it so far, so I definitely can't wait to continue. I also got Volume 2 of The Old Guard by Greg Rucka because I enjoyed the first volume so much. I love the film, I love the comic, so I picked up the second volume. And this one's basically about immortal beings being badass assassins for hire and things like this, and it was just fantastic, quite frankly. Check out the comic, check out the movie on Netflix, they're both incredible. I then picked up Miles Morales Volume 3 Family Business by Saladin Ahmed. Obviously this is the third volume in the series following Miles. I've really enjoyed the first two so far. I really think it's giving a really good insight to Miles' family and his relationship dynamics with them and how they interact with each other and everything else, and how Miles works as Spider-Man. So I really wanted to pick up the next one, so again, it was on offer, I picked it up. I then also picked up Loki, the God Who Fell to Earth by Daniel Kibblesmith, and this is post-War of the Realms, which is another one I want to read when Thor comes out. Though I'll probably read Loki when the Loki TV show comes out because I'm stockpiling and I just want to read more Loki comics and Loki centric things, so I picked this one up, so I am ready for it whenever I fancy reading it, whether that be when Loki comes out or after I've read War of the Realms, whichever comes first. Obviously Loki, but I don't know why I said that. Thor hasn't even started filming yet, Loki's finished filming. But either way, I am ready. I also picked up The Life of Captain Marvel by Margaret Stohl, and this is supposed to be her definitive origin story. And obviously, I adore Captain Marvel and Carol Danvers. She's one of my all-time favourite characters, and while I have watched her origin story on film, I do want to read it in comic version as well, so why not pick up the definitive version. I then picked up Cute Mutants Mutant Pride by S.J. Whitby, which is an X-Men story. It's sort of like an X-Men story in the sense that X-Men superfans get mutant powers, and it sounded very relatable from the little bits I saw. It was essentially like them screaming about X-Men, which is my life. I'm pretty sure the synopsis literally ends with "Wolverine save me" or something, which is my life. So I thought it'd be rather relatable, so I picked it up. I then also picked up Nyx The Complete Collection by Marjorie Liu, and this one is about X-23 and a few other mutants on the street of New York pre the Wolverine series. I just read X-23 and went, yeah, I'll have that, because I am a massive fan of X-23. X-23 is one of my all-time favourite X-Men characters. I absolutely adore her. So to know that there was another series that was sort of focusing on her pre-becoming the Wolverine, I definitely wanted to pick that up. I've now got her origin story, a couple of other stories, and now I also have this one, and I cannot wait to read it. I then also got the Young X-Men Final Genesis by Mark Guggingham, and this one is the spin-off from Messiah Complex, which is part of House of M. I literally read spin-off from House of M and went, yeah, I'm also going to have that one, because I just really love House of M, and when it comes to the MCU, hopefully in about 7 weeks time, I'm going to go absolutely all out and just read the entirety of absolutely everything I've got to do with House of M, and this is now going to be on the list as well, and I cannot wait. I then also picked up Heralds by Catherine Immonen, which is about female heroes teaming up against an old enemy. I really love that. I love the idea of more female team-ups. I'm just absolutely here for female team-ups. Female team-ups are like my favourite thing at this point after reading A-Force, so this was another one I decided to pick up. And then finally finally I got The Banks by Roxanne Gay, and this one is another one about heists, only this time it's a family who do heists and they've got some sort of final big score or something. So I picked it up. I have heard good things about Roxanne Gay before, so I decided to pick this one up while it was on sale for like £1.79. And that's all of the books I got, but I've got to finally show you one last thing, and that is this t-shirt that says, "If you can read this, I was forced to put down my book and re-enter society." And doesn't that just describe my life and everybody else's lives on BookTube? But I thought this was absolutely brilliant, so I had to also put it into this video as well, because it's not a book, but it is a bookish thing. And that is the end of this book haul, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. I'd love to know. I'll also leave a link down below to all my social media if you want to check it out, including to the Comic Book Sanctum, which is my website dedicated to Marvel comics, where I will be talking about all of the comics I've mentioned eventually at some point, but it'll all be linked down below. And if you want to see any more of my videos, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But until next time everyone, bye!